Hey guys, Mike Taylor here, and today we're going to talk about SQL Backups. Have you ever wanted to make your own test database? Well, today I'm going to show you how to do that, how to back up from SQL, and how to restore a database. But first, visit BattleshipCobra.com for more information about me. I have a Crystal Reports for SAP Business One course and an SQL for SAP Business One course in the description below. First thing you want to do is check which version of SQL you're using. From within the SAP client, you can go Modules, Administration, Choose Company, and you can see you have 2017. If you have 2008, then you might have some issues. Just listen to the specific warnings I give you about the 2008 versions. 2012, 2017, you still want to check what I have to say, but 2008 and below can have a couple of extra steps that are a little bit annoying, but I'll go through those too. So once you have access to the SQL server, you'll log into that, however you're going to log into it, remote desktop or whatever. Then what you're going to want to do is start SQL Management Studio. Start SQL Management Studio. Wait for this to load, and this is what you will use to do your backups and the restoring. So I'm logging in with Windows Authentication. If you do have the SQL SA password, SQL Server Authentication, type SA, and then you can do this. So either way, one of those two. I'm just going to leave this on Windows Authentication because my user will allow me to log in. Once you're logged in, you're going to do a backup of your production database. If you're not sure what your production database is, you can go back to the SAP client, Modules, Administration, Choose Company, and you can see the database name here. So this is what I'm logged in as, SAP Business Objects. Back in your SQL Management Studio, you can pop open databases and I can see SAP Business Objects. So that is my live database, my production database. I have another one called Testing. Don't worry about these other ones. There's a couple more that SAP maintains. You just need to find the one that you're going to back up. Right click, Tasks, Backup. So what you're going to do is, this will probably be blank. You want to do this, back up to disk, add. This is going to give you your default path. Make sure you have enough space. I already have a file name, SAP Business Objects.back. This will usually be blank. So you're going to want to type whatever you want there, but you want to put a .back at the end. It won't necessarily prompt you to always put that. If you don't put the .back, it doesn't show up in this file menu structure and it'll be annoying because you'll have to actually just find it manually. So just put the .back on there. I like to name it exactly what the database name is. I don't particularly like to keep a whole bunch of backups this way because hopefully you have other backup methods that will keep timely backups and you won't need to give these an object like a date or anything like that. So use that, push OK. Push OK. So it's just going to back up here. Media options. You can append your new backup to the old backups, and this would double up on your size of your backup folder. So if you're doing several backups in a row and you want to give them different names, which I'll show you in a second, you can have those continue to add to themselves. So you could say, here's one back file, and it has a bunch of different backups in it, or in some cases, you just want to overwrite it because you don't want to use like 20 gigs and 20 gigs and 20 gigs. So generally, you're going to overwrite all existing backups. Sometimes you might want to use append. In the backup options, you can just leave this name or you can give this some sort of meaningful description. This is what's going to show up when you go to restore. So if you're doing, say, like a go live situation, you could say backups after customers are loaded, backups after vendors are loaded, etc. And that's really all you need to do. Push OK to back it up. It'll run through its thing here. It's done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to restore that over a new database. I'm going to pretend that that is the same as an existing test database. I don't want to override this one because I actually do have stuff in there. But you usually only want to keep one test database. I don't like to see 15 test databases. It just wastes so much resources and a lot of the times there's no point. Just make sure that nobody else who's using it has anything that they're doing with it. so that you don't override work that they're doing. Maybe they're doing some customization or testing in the test database. To add a new database, right-click Databases, click New Database. I'm going to call this Testing 2. Everything else should be standard. It's going to put it into your default file locations. It's going to do everything just however things were set up. Push OK. Now what you want to do is right-click Tasks, Restore Database. Go to Device, Backup, with the ellipses button to pick the file name. This is going to open your default folder. If you moved your .back file, then you would want to put it somewhere else when this pops up. Click Add File, SAP Business Objects, OK. If you had backed this up in some versions, this is going to revert back to the database that was backed up. So you need to make sure that your destination is the destination of the database you are going to restore. Very, very important that you check this. So this is right. Testing 2 is the destination. And if you have multiple backups, you can see here's the name that this was. So this could be before customers or before items. And you can also scroll over here and see the date. So you can see the date that it was last taken. Files, you want to check in here. Make sure you're restoring it as the new database. The one that you're going to restore to, not the original one. If this still shows your original files, you're in trouble. And especially with the 2008, it'll cause a lot of issues here. You could be trying to restore, it's in use, and you cannot close the connection. So you just want to make sure that this is correct. Options. I like to go to overwrite the existing database. We're not doing any incremental stuff. We're literally going to blow away the old one and put the new one there. And luckily, I think 2012 plus, it has this nice close existing connections to the destination database. This is extremely useful. And if you don't have 2017 or 2012, the 2008, I don't think it has this option. It's really annoying, and you're going to have to manually clear out the connections, and I'll show you that in a second too. Once this is all done, push OK. This is going to be restoring to testing 2. You got the right databases, and everything is going to be hunky-dory. So say you go to backup and it doesn't work. You have a couple different options. Activity Monitor. Right-click Activity Monitor up here. Look under Processes, and you're going to load this information here, and you'll see in a second what applications, what databases. You filter for that database, so let's say testing, and I can see there's a couple of different things attached there that could be using up the connection, which won't let me restore. Again, with the 2008, this is something that can happen. Right-click, kill the process. Right-click, kill the process. You might have a short window to do that, to do your restore. So you can start your restore window, kill the processes, click restore. In certain situations, very aggressive backups will immediately reconnect. They'll keep connecting. So you may actually have to shut down that service in order to back up. It's not usually that bad. The other option you have besides the activity monitor is to detach. Right-click, tasks, detach. Drop connections, click OK, and this will shake off all the connections. Leave it for a couple seconds, right-click, attach, add, and reattach your testing to exactly how it was. So you don't really want to do that, obviously, while people are connected, but if it's a testing database, it's not a big deal. It'll drop all connections off of it, restore it, right-click, go ahead and do your restore as usual. Once it's restored, you can go back to your SAP client. You can do the same thing, modules, administration, choose company, refresh. You're going to see a second one that's an identical copy to the first one. All of your information, licenses, all that stuff will be the same. So I'm going to log in using the same information. Once this starts up, the first thing I like to do is go to modules, administration, choose company. Make sure I'm in the right database. The one that's highlighted is the one you're in. Modules, administration, system initialization, company details. Well, actually first let's see. So I called this one just testing. So I'm just going to call this one testing 2. Sometimes I like to put testing and then the date in front, but this is pretty easy for me to keep control of here. So I would just go testing 2. You can put, you know, what's today? June 25th. And then you know when it was created. But whatever you do, you want to differentiate this from the other databases. Usually the name is enough. Some people change their backgrounds. Some people, they do a lot of different things. I like to just do the name. So we're going to go choose company, refresh. Now you can see it's June 25th. And I'm going to change the color of the user interface. Administration, system initialization, general settings. Display, color, pink or whatever. All users, I'm in 9.3, so this is really easy. It'll copy to all users. And you can see everything is copied. You can't really see it that on the dashboard area here. But if you do go to a form, you can now differentiate a live database. So once you've set the form color, what I like to do is actually log in again, because you can see here, I have the main menu hidden, but if you show this, you can see I'm still showing me as being in the live database. I'm going to go modules administration, choose company, click on another database, click back to the testing database. This is a quick little trick to re-logging in without closing SAP completely. Trigger that, it's gonna pull you out of that database and then bring you back in. So once this is logged in, you can see it now says testing 2 June 25th, and it's got a pink user interface there. So if somebody logs in here, you can see the differentiation between the live database and the test database. Again, I normally just leave this menu off, but when you start to use the forms, you should see that they're differentiated here. So I'll load up a sales order. So as a last thing and a bonus, I wanted to give you a couple settings you can check in SQL to improve performance. First thing, suggested memory chart. So I have this Glenn Berry's SQL performance chart. This is just a guideline. I don't necessarily follow this exactly, but it's a good guideline for you to understand for a dedicated SQL machine. And this will say, if you have physical RAM, how much you should use in SQL. So I'm going to go back into my SQL Management Studio, right click my whole server node here, go to Properties, go to Memory, and then you're going to see, oh, mine is taking up so much memory. This is the default. This is a lot of megabytes. This is the default. So basically it'll say SQL, go ahead and use as much as you want and don't ever give it back. So you want to go and take a suggested 59,000. I don't know if I really even want 59,000. In this case, it gives you a little bit of overhead for the Windows operating system, and then it allows everything else to be used by SQL. So I think I'm going to go more like 30,000 just for this machine. Server properties, 30, 1, 2, 3, and that's it. And then you push OK. This won't take into account until you restart the machine. But if you restart the machine, it'll prevent SQL from going crazy and using so much memory and taking it all as like a memory hog away from the operating system. Second thing is right-click one of your databases, go to Properties, go to Options, and you want this to be recovery model simple. You don't want this to be full. You don't need it to be full. You don't need to log everything. SAP, we don't do full incremental stuff. So you can go through each one of these and set them to simple. Right click, Properties, Options, Simple, and you want to go through every single one of these databases. You don't need any of them to be full. So I think all mine are probably set to simple, etc. And you want to do the system ones too. Temp, I think all of these are going to be simple anyways. So go through every single one of those, make them simple. And you can actually shrink your log files to free up space too. So just set those two things. Once you restart your machine, you get a little bit of extra performance. And that's really it. Thank you guys so much for checking out my videos. I really appreciate it. Go to www.battleshipcobra.com. Check out all my other stuff. I do new videos every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for the support. Bye for now.